All right, let's talk about Noah's Ark. I know, you've heard the story a million times. But today, we're going to go way beyond the cute animals on the flannel board and dig into some of the details you might have missed.
I mean, we all know the basics, right? Good guy, big flood, a whole zoo on a boat. It's one of those stories that's just everywhere. But what if that Sunday school version is just the tip of the iceberg? Because when you really dive into the source material, you start to wonder about the incredible engineering, the intense family drama, and just the mind-blowing scale of it all.
So, to really get it, we've got to ask some big questions. Like, where did the blueprints for this thing even come from? Exactly how massive was it? What was the construction actually like? And maybe most importantly, what was going on in Noah's life right before the rain started to fall?
Okay, first up, a divine blueprint. Let's talk about the architecture. You don't just sketch out a boat meant to save all life on a whim. So where did Noah, a guy from the ancient world, get the expertise? Well, the idea is, he didn't have to. The plans came from a higher source.
To get our heads around this, we have to see that there's a pattern here. Think about other huge projects in the scriptures. King David, for example, didn't just dream up the design for the temple. He says God gave him a detailed, written pattern, a complete divine schematic for every single part of it.
And it wasn't a one-off thing. Centuries later, the prophet Nephi had to build a ship to cross an ocean, and he's crystal clear about it. He didn't use human shipbuilding techniques. He says he built it exactly as the Lord showed him, which was not after the manner of men.
So when we read this verse about Noah, the implication is powerful. He wasn't just given a vague instruction like, hey, build a boat. It's much more likely he was following a highly detailed, revealed blueprint, just like David and Nephi. He was basically the contractor on a divine construction project.
So if Noah had these divine blueprints, what did he actually build? This is where we get into the engineering of an ancient marvel, because the sheer scale and strength of the ark are just, well, astonishing.
The dimensions we're given are 300 cubits long. Now, a cubit is an old measurement, about the length of a forearm. If we use the most conservative estimate, an 18-inch cubit, that makes the ark at least 450 feet long. That's a football field and a half. And remember, that's the minimum. It could have been even bigger.
And to really put that into perspective, the source material compares its size to a 20th century ocean liner, the Italian ship called the Rex. That ship had a displacement of around 50,000 tons. So we are not talking about a little barge here. This was a massive vessel built on a modern scale.
And the design itself was incredibly complex. It wasn't just some hollow box. It had 3 separate decks, all divided up into rooms and compartments. It was clearly built for long-term living, with windows for ventilation, a single huge door high up on the side, and the whole thing was sealed inside and out with pitch to make it totally waterproof.
I love this description. The text says it was built to be tight like a dish. Now that exact phrase is used elsewhere to describe some other boats, the Jaredite barges, that were so well built they could literally be submerged by a wave and pop right back up. So that suggests the ark wasn't just made to float, it was an incredibly tough vessel, engineered to survive the most violent storm imaginable.
The choice of materials was also genius. The Lord specifically told him to use gopher wood. Now, while no one's 100% sure what tree that is, most scholars think it's a type of cypress or cedar. And what's so special about it? It's naturally resistant to rot and wood-boring insects. I mean, if you had to build a wooden ship to survive a year-long flood, you couldn't pick a better material.
But this whole story is so much more than just an amazing engineering project. It's a deeply human story. So let's shift gears and look at the solemn events happening in Noah's own family as the final days were ticking down. This timeline just puts the immense weight on Noah's shoulders into perspective. Just 5 years before the flood, his own father, Lamech, dies. Then, in the very same year the flood is set to begin, his grandfather, Methuselah, passes away. Can you imagine the grief? Burying the last of the great patriarchs, all while knowing what's about to happen to the world? And on top of that, in those final moments, the entire spiritual authority on the planet, what the scriptures call the priesthood, rested on just 4 men. Noah and his 3 sons. They were completely and utterly alone with this massive responsibility.
Now, it's easy to look at his grandfather's death as just a tragic coincidence, right? The end of a long era. But what if there's more to it? What if the timing of his death wasn't an accident at all, but a final, powerful message?
Well, according to some interpretations, the name Methuselah was itself a prophecy. It's believed to have meant, at his death, the waters come forth. And get this, he lived right up to the very year of the flood, and in the year he died, the flood began. It suggests his incredibly long life was actually an act of grace, holding back the final judgment until the last possible moment. A solemn countdown tied to a single human life. Really makes you think, doesn't it?